Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to get started with Book Creator. Book Creator can be found on any iPad by swiping down in the middle of the screen and it brings up a search menu. If I start typing book, it should come up under applications. Book Creator can be identified by a rainbow coloured icon with a book drawing in the middle of it. As you can see, Book Creator has opened up. Sometimes you will see the books on this bookshelf here, and they're all the books on this iPad. However, sometimes when you open up Book Creator, it will actually open up and it will be inside a book like this. So let's just say that's what happened. We start Book Creator and it's already in the middle of a book. This can be a bit of a problem for students who are using it for the first time, so we need to make sure they know how to get out of a book. Now, to get back to the bookshelf, we need to use the menu item at the top that says My Books. When I tap that, it takes us back to the bookshelf where all the books are. Next step is to create a new book. Where the term My Books was in the top left-hand corner, there is now a new phrase there, New Book. This is the easiest way to start a new book in Book Creator. When you tap on New Book, you can see that it asks you to choose a book shape. We can choose between standard in the top row and comic book in the bottom row. Let's take a look at the standard template and see what the difference is. So we're going to take a look at standard landscape template first, and we can see here it is in the top right hand corner on the top row. The first thing you see is the same in both templates, a blank cover page. The main difference is what you can add and what you can change. So in the top right hand corner we see our main tools that we're going to use whilst creating an ebook. We can see the addition tool, the plus tool, the eye in a circle and the triangle play tool. The add symbol is the one we're going to be looking at more specifically now. If I tap on it, we can see that it has two menus down the bottom. When you use the comic template, it actually has three. It has a third option with a lot more features and elements that you can add. So here you can see what the standard items are. Photos, camera tool, draw with a pen, add some text, and you can also add sound. That's great for students who might not be too quick or too skilled at typing and writing, so they can use sound to record their answers. So if I go to add a text, to add a title to this page, which is normally the first thing that we do, I just type my first ebook. You can see that it comes up in a text box, and when I click done, it goes back and shows me what the page will look like. I can edit that text now by going to the eye and changing the font size by tapping on the large A or using the slider. I can change the type of font. There's quite a range of fonts here. We have some more interesting ones down the bottom, such as, I quite like that one myself. And we can also change the color of that. We can also add backgrounds. There's a whole range of things that you can do to improve what your ebook looks like, including aligning and things. So to hop off that, I just tap on back on the page, and you can see because I've changed the size of my font, the text box is now over 2 lines. We can change that pretty quickly by putting our finger on one of those blue circles and dragging across. Now this is an important thing to remember. When you're editing something like the text box here, when it is selected, you can hit the eye and it'll have those options. But if I tap off the text box and remove that border, if I tap on the eye now, I cannot change the features of that text box. You need to have that selected. What I can do, however, is change the page features. And this is another difference between comic and standard. Standard templates only have very standard colors. You can choose a paper style. You can also choose your own color, depending on what you might prefer. And comic actually has some patterned backgrounds that students quite enjoy using. So that's it for this landscape standard template. We're now going to take a look at the comic book standard template. So we'll go back to the bookshelf by clicking on My Books, create a new book, but this time we're going to use the comic template. Now I'll quickly skip into the add tool, and you can see down the bottom there that we actually have 3 different menus, and by default this template will open up into the comics template. where we have panels for making comic books and other items, which we'll show you in another tutorial. Speech bubbles, thought bubbles, a better range of text options such as titles and captions, as well as stickers that have quite a range of things that you can add to those. So you can choose a blank one and add your own text, or you can choose an existing one. So if I go add text, I'm going to choose a title text and type in my first ebook. Click done. It's the same thing. It's too squished because the text box isn't wide enough. Finger on the blue circle, drag it across, and I can now put it, make it big enough to fit on one line. The other thing I'll show you now, if I hold my finger on the text box, I can actually drag it around, and you'll see every now and then a green line pops. This actually helps us center and align the text box. So if I want it to be exactly in the middle, it needs to be where the green lines in the vertical green line, the horizontal green line, both visible. The other thing I'll quickly do is edit this text box so the text is in the middle. So I tap on the eye, we can see about 2/3 of the way down we have the align option. Now, here is the next big difference that we mentioned earlier. If I tap off the text box, I have nothing selected, and now I tap on the eye, it gives me the background choices, and you can clearly see there's a lot more different types of backgrounds that students will probably like to use. So that is a great option for making your ebook stand out. There are other options, such as in more, you can go back to those standard colors and also choose a unique color if you'd like. The patterns themselves are not editable. It is exactly how it is. You can't change those colors. Okay, and so that's the main differences between a standard template and a comic template. My personal preference is for the comic book templates, as they have a lot more features and elements that can be added and edited, and therefore making a more engaging ebook to use with students or for students to create themselves. So we're going to look at adding a new page now, and then on that new page we'll add some new content. So on the right hand side of my cover page you can see the arrowhead there that simply navigates to the next page, and if you look at the top there's a title there that tells us that we are on page 2 of 3. Now if I go to the next page, 3 of 3, you can see that there is a plus sign where the arrowhead used to be. This is simply used to add new pages. Back on page 2 now, and we're going to add some content. I would like to add a photo to show you how to do that, and also add some text that matches that photo. So I use the add tool, and I'm going to go to the media menu and choose photos. Now at the top here we have moments, which is a collection of recent moments on this iPad, and the camera roll will have everything. So I'm going to go into moments and just scroll to a photo of a pizza I knew it was on my iPad. There it is there. It's a nice looking pizza too. It comes up, it's quite big. I can click and drag with my finger to make it move up. That gives me a little bit of room, but I am going to make this photo a bit smaller just so I can add a little bit of text. So on the blue circle in the corners I can click and hold, then drag, and it makes it smaller. Obviously if I went the other way it would be bigger. Now I'm going to add some text. Add text, and I like to use captions in this one because it allows me to have a border on my text and I can line it up very neatly with the image. Simple message, what a lovely looking pizza! Exclamation mark. Done. Now by default it just puts it in a position on the page. It's very easy just to hold your finger and slide, and it moves the text to wherever you'd like it to be. You'll note that when I get close to the edge of the image it lines up and clicks into place. Now I like to make my text boxes the same size as my images, and now that looks quite good. Now I need to edit my text to make it a little bit larger so it's easier to read, and I do that in my eye tool with a circle around it in the top right hand corner. And I can increase my text by using the slider, which goes very quickly, or I can tap the A, big A gets bigger, small a smaller. I'm going to go to 55 and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's the simple way to add image and text and add a new page. If I was you now, I would go and have a little exploration through all the different options in the menus, including the shapes that you could add. the different comic elements, and the media. Just to recap with some tips to remember. Comic templates have more choice, so they make more interesting and more diverse books. When you're in the middle of a book, to get back to the bookshelf where all the other books are, or to start a new book, tap My Books at the top left-hand corner of the screen. To change the background of any page, tap the Edit tool whilst nothing is selected. The Edit tool is the eye with the circle around it, as seen here. And before editing or changing an object, tap it first to select, then tap the Edit tool.